Hey everybody. So the next album I'm going to give is an album by Liz Weiss called There's a Light. It came out in 2015 and I think I first listened to it in 2017. So I found Liz Weiss as an artist when I heard her featured, I think, on a John Mark McMillan album in fall of 2017. She was on John Mark McMillan's album Mercury and Lightning, and she's featured on one of the songs and I just absolutely loved it. And so, about 6 months later, I was going through a pretty difficult season of life. I'm just dealing with high anxiety and, a lot of emotional turmoil, but especially dealing with anxiousness. And I remember just listening to this album, and it was really, really encouraging to me, specifically because she really just focuses on Jesus through and through. The first two songs, Abide, and the second song, Empty Me Out, were just on my mind on repeat during that season, and they were songs on the album as a whole that really helped me to commit all of my thoughts and anxieties to the Lord, and set my eyes on Him and worship Him and pray that I need to fill myself up with Him. So it was really encouraging for me. Why I'm sharing it now is because, frankly, I just wanted to listen to the album again. So I've been listening to it recently. I love her voice, I love her style. It's really good R&B, soul, gospel music. And so I'm excited to share this album with you, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hi, I'm Caroline, and the album that I'm sharing this week for the podcast is called Ghost of a King by the Grey Havens. This album is really important to me because it came out at a really formative time in my Christian walk. So this is a singer-songwriter group, and I love that because I love lyrics. And so singer-songwriters are usually very lyrical and inventive in what they write, but oftentimes they compromise on the music because that's not their strong suit. But I love this album because it's musically wonderful, but also the lyrics are really deep. This album is kind of a zoomed out view of the kingdom of heaven for a Christian. How do we fit in? Where's our place in that? What's our function? And how does that work in the grand scheme of eternity? So those are kind of some of the themes of this album. And it was really important to me because it came out at a time that I was returning to the States for a while after my first term as a missionary overseas. I'd been gone for 2 years, and I came back and I had a lot of questions about what was next and what the Lord would be doing in my life from here on out. And this album was on repeat for a lot of that. So it was really good to kind of help me focus on big picture of the kingdom of heaven and how can I be a part of that overseas, and then how does that translate back in the United States. So so I really love this album, and I hope that...
Hey guys, this is Jay. The album I'm going to be contributing this week is from a group called S.F.C, which stands for Soldiers for Christ. The name of the album is called Phase 3. It is one of the first Christian hip-hop albums that really kind of took hold. The reasoning behind why I'm sharing this album goes back to some history, and I'll go more in depth during the podcast. But the short version is, whenever I was coming up, I live hip hop, and in the 80s hip hop was fun, but in the late 80s and early 90s it started to take a bit of a more rebellious turn. And I loved it. If you know me, you know how much I'm a little bit of a rebel, and I kind of like that type of music. And so I got into some groups that were a little bit more hardcore, and I guess their message maybe didn't match who I was in Christ, or though the music was great, their message didn't really connect with me, but I loved the music. And groups like, I guess the one that just pops into my mind the quickest is Public Enemy. And I love Public Enemy. They had an amazing sound, and they just had so much going on, and they wrapped it up in such a nice, tight package. And Chuck D's vocals were just like, I don't know, they would just grab you. But Christian rap music at that time was pretty lame. It was pretty weak, and so it wasn't anything that I would want to share with my friends because you kind of were a little bit embarrassed by it. But S.F.C came out, and they had some of that same grit and even like rebellion. But I found within that grit and rebellion, I found something that like connected with me, and I said, okay, this is the way that I can be rebellious, and it's by latching onto these things and taking my faith seriously, rather than just kind of living like every other Christian that I know does, and it's just kind of a side note in your life. And so I hope you enjoy the album. I love it, and I know it's going to be different and maybe a little bit controversial because of some of the topics that are discussed, but hopefully that'll bring us some good conversation. So enjoy, guys.